All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. So in this video, we're gonna do part 2 of some news that we did yesterday, or a conversation we had yesterday about a tweet associated with Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford responds to it and says, I said what about who? Who said what? That I did what? Let's talk about that and Terence Crawford's response to that tweet in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. We're gonna do a little bit more of this welterweight boxing talk, but before I do that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like, share button, and all that good stuff. All right, man. So consider this a little bit of a correction video. I had a feeling that something was funny, but I still talked about it in a video. But just to be a buck about it, I want to come back and address it. Terence Crawford on his Twitter this morning responded to a tweet that was associated with Errol Spence Jr. The tweet associated with Errol Spence Jr. said something to the effect of this: you do all of that talking on the internet, but you can't answer your phone, right? So people took that and associated that with Errol Spence Jr. telling people that Terence Crawford wasn't answering his phone because Terence Crawford was talking a lot of smack on the internet about chasing around Errol Spence. So that is pretty much, what the tweet was implied to be, right? I did a video about it, and what I said in the video about it was, if this is true and if this is a legit tweet by Errol Spence Jr., that that it was just kind of funny, man, because it's just more and more back and forth going on between these two guys. And honestly, man, I'm not somebody that really, I don't mind that type of conversation, man. The conversation about who said what, who shot who about John. I don't mind that at all. That's why I have a boxing channel, and it's always good for the barbershop conversations that that go on in boxing, right? So I said that in the video. I still maintain that, but I definitely want to say that, just to make sure you're treating Terence Crawford fairly. That Terence Crawford is denying that he ever got a call from Errol Spence Jr. and that was not true. And also, it looks like, because I went to the timeline before with Errol Spence Jr. and I didn't actually see that tweet on there. I'm not somebody that's really familiar with false tweets and whether or not people, how people can go about photoshopping tweets, because honestly, man, I don't understand why anybody would Photoshop a tweet for that. It just kind of blows my mind. However, seeing as it's not up on Errol Spence Jr.'s actual Twitter account, and Terence Crawford responded to it, and other people are saying, no, that's not a real tweet, that's fake news, I'll just acknowledge and say, okay, more than likely, there's enough question about that tweet coming from Errol Spence Jr. to say, okay, maybe Errol Spence Jr. didn't say that. So I want to say there's nothing out there for me to believe that Terence Crawford is not accepting calls from Errol Spence Jr. But that also goes right along with what I've always said about this particular circumstance. I do not think Errol Spence Jr. is ducking Terence Crawford, and I don't think Terence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence Jr. None of that makes sense to me. First of all, Terence Crawford in the past, and I do believe I said in the video, and I would continually maintain this in support of Terence Crawford, for anybody that would say Terence Crawford is ducking a fight with Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford is just kind of a funny acting individual when it comes to certain things or comes to making certain fights, right? Because if you look at the Sean Porter fight, Terence Crawford did not want that fight. He's saying he didn't want that fight. He said to Sean Porter, look, if you want to fight, become the mandatory, and then I'll fight you as a mandatory. So, that right there made it look like he did not want the fight, and Sean Porter had to force him into position to have that fight. But at the end of the day, once it was mandated, he got behind the fight, he got in the ring, and he beat Sean Porter, and he beat Sean Porter convincingly. He didn't look like he was afraid of it. There's nothing, looking backwards on now that we've seen the whole scenario, that would really make you believe that he was nervous or scared of the fight. So, I don't believe that he is ducking that fight. The thing that got me, and what I talked about when I saw that tweet, is that people are so quick, Terence Crawford fans are so quick to say Errol Spence Jr. is going to duck. So when I was like, look, if you're going to take everything that anybody says about Errol Spence Jr. and then take this tweet from Errol Spence Jr. and give him credit for that he was calling him. But as it turns out, more than likely that tweet's not with him. That's probably an Errol Spence Jr. fan that is really just trying to get under the skin of Terence Crawford fans. So it's a bunch of, it's all a bunch of malarkey right now. However, I do want to maintain, man, that a lot of boxing, this is what a lot of boxing is. Conversations about, from is Deontay Wilder going to fight, Tyson Fury, and things that Tyson Fury says about him, calling him a big dosser and a bum and this and that. A lot of this conversation that goes on is, that's what sports conversation is by and large. And I don't mind engaging in it because honestly, man, it's fun when you're actually sitting around waiting for these guys to make fights. Because if there was not this type of stuff going on, honestly, with the way these promoters are making these fights, there would be very, very little to talk about in boxing. We would be sitting down and waiting for 2 months before we say, okay, well, who landed that left hook? Who landed that right hook? Right. And I don't really think, questions like this or conversations like this, are any more relevant or any less relevant than Canelo Alvarez fans running around talking about how Andre Ward is jealous of him because he says that he needs to fight Arthur Beterbiev or something like that. But, I really do wish, though, that these guys would come together and make the fight so that we could actually talk about, who we think is going to win the fight versus all of the stuff that goes around. Other than that. But, it is what it is. Terence Crawford fed into it when he stood in an ocean and was talking about, hey, I'm looking for Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr. is ducking me, right? So, it is what it is, man. This is what a lot of boxing talk is. And, we just kind of have to live with it if we're going to continue to talk about boxing. I do, though, want to make sure that I will do a correction video if something is attributed to somebody that is not true, because I do not want anybody to think that I believe that Terence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence Jr. I just do not like the idea that where people are saying that Errol Spence Jr. is ducking Terence Crawford, because none of that makes sense. What makes sense to me is that there literally are two sides of that street. People may not like the way, the phrasing of that. However, when Terence Crawford was with Top Rank, there were a lot of fights that did not happen for Terence Crawford at Top Rank, right? For specifically the Manny Pacquiao fight. So if Errol Spence Jr. if Terence Crawford can't get a fight with Manny Pacquiao and they're both in the same organization, what would make you think that Bob Arum would be able to or willing to make a fight with Errol Spence Jr., who is being promoted by somebody that at the time, he was pretty much denying his existence, right? Had sued him for, violations of the Sherman Act and of the Muhammad Ali Act, right? So, I don't really think either one of these fighters are really to blame for the fact that the fight didn't happen. But I do believe that Errol Spence Jr. wants that fight. Terence Crawford is saying that he wants to fight, and I do have hope that the fight is actually going to get made. But if you think that there's going to be any less of this back and forth kind of, baby mama drama going on, it's not going to be. And I don't mind talking about it because honestly, it's kind of fun. It keeps the conversation rolling, and this is a boxing channel. But anyway, I do want to say again for sure that I do not believe that Terence Crawford is ducking Errol Spence Jr. I do not believe Errol Spence Jr. is ducking Terence Crawford. That tweet is questionable at best, and Terence Crawford straight out denied it. So it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.